always love to see ladies in all the event industry and scenes. These two ladies, right, I need to introduce them. Okay, first we have Dr. Nicole from Newton Development. Dr. Nicole have vast experience in the financial sector. All right, she had actually over 20 years of experiences in finance and capital markets, focusing on strategic planning, financial and even asset management, and even for business process reengineering, corporate finance and investment banking. So currently, right, she is actually helming the eco energy management business at Newton Technology Group in Malaysia. So she is also the Director of Corporate Strategy and Sustainability Newton from Newton Tech Group. And Dr. Nicole, right, is also a certified green project manager professional ambassador by the GPM Global, a sustainability advocate and an inspiration to all of us in leading a greener world with technology. And accompanied with Dr. Nicole, we have Angela. Angela will be the moderator from EBOS Holdings Sdn Bhd. She is also our VP of membership. So yes, ladies and gentlemen, if you are thinking to join in to Malaysian Proptech Association platform, do email us, okay, to ask about the membership, and occasionally we do have a connection event. So to know what's happening, the latest new insight for the Malaysia Proptech scene. All right, so Angela, technology is to empower human, not to eliminate it. Build something great and be proud of it. So this is a philosophy that Angela holds on deeply. And Angela is a born entrepreneur. She actually started her entrepreneurship since 16 years old. Amazing. So what inspired her is that she actually began to start designing and develop SaaS platform to troubleshoot the problem in the industry. And her idea, her encouragement, or her mission, her inspiration is to develop as many solutions as possible to address, and also her motivation is in the business is the recognition from the market that her solution that she built, right, is able to build the address the problem in the market. So without further ado, all right, let's welcome both ladies that you see from the screen, Dr. Nicole as well as Angela, for the session with the topic of Smart Cities, Proptech and ESG Challenges and Expectations. So welcome, Dr. Nicole and Angela. Angela, I'll pass the floor to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Cassandra. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining the session. I am Angela from EBOS Group Holding. So today I'm going to moderate this session about smart cities, PropTech and ESG. What are the challenges and expectations? So I know Dr. Nicole in one of the smart city conferences, and she has been a very inspiring professional about sustainable development. So there is something here, sorry, there is something that I want to share about her, especially her quotes about sustainability. She mentioned that sustainable development is a development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. So this is the definition of sustainability, which I think it totally makes sense. So why we want to sustain, why we want sustainability is because we want to live longer on this planet. So there are so many things that we have to achieve, but so little time. So how can we put our effort together and build a sustainable environment, and so that we can live on this beautiful planet in longer, right? So Dr. Nicole, welcome to our session, and thank you for being our panelist. I'm very happy and excited to moderate your session and meet you again, but online. I hope to have coffee with you again physically. All right.
Yes, Angela, thank you.
All right. Dr. Nicole, I have a few very interesting questions for you. But first of all, since we are the first session touch on smart city, let us give the audience a few examples of top smart cities around the world. Do you mind to name a few so that we can have the idea, wow, okay, this is a smart city and this country is doing well, or they are the example that we may want to follow and we can imagine. Can you just give us some example?
Yes, Angela, I'll be happy to. Well, smart cities in the world has been targeted to have by 2025, we are targeting to have 88 smart cities. So these smart cities will be centralized in Asia Pacific, about 32 of them. In Europe, about 31 of them. And in America, about 25 of them. And currently, we have got some smart cities as in Amsterdam, Barcelona, Kyoto, Beijing, Shanghai, and Seoul, Sangalu, and closer to home, even Singapore, right? San Francisco, Stockholm. And according to the Smart City Index 2021, we have got actually the top ones are actually Singapore. Surprisingly, maybe not so surprisingly, Singapore, followed by Zurich, Oslo, Taipei, Lausanne, Helsinki, Copenhagen, Geneva, Auckland, right? So these are the top 10 cities in the world. So in the closer to home where Malaysia is, we are currently having a few of our own as well. So of course, the first one is Cyberjaya. And of course, the Greater KL is Kandar. And we have got two more that is in the ropes, that is Putrajaya, Smart Selangor. For those who are living in PJ, you see all this slogan, Smart Selangor everywhere. So we are moving towards there. And in East Malaysia, I think Kota Kinabalu has also indicated their vision to become a smart city as well. Angela.
Yeah. It is actually pretty excited that Malaysia is catching up and exploring how we can implement smart city solutions in different cities. We have beautiful country, and we want this country to sustain, and we can learn from the countries, the cities that you mentioned just now. So for the past 5 years, smart city is actually a very hot topic in many countries, right? Especially when ESG is encouraged, is implemented, and with the SDG 17 goals. So what is actually the concern of the country leaders pertaining to this subject, and why is it a concern to so many countries?
Well, it has been a concern because sustainability in the urban areas is very low. So far, we are seeing a very drastic increase of people in the urban areas. It is projected that by 2050, we're going to see an increase of 2.5 billion of people, but they are all concentrated in the urban areas. So you can imagine the stress on the city resources, the stress on the city infrastructure is all going to build up. And we have got cities around the world accounting for less than 2% of the Earth's surface. Okay, so imagine 2% of the surface, but we are using 2/3 of the world's energy. 2/3. And we produce 70% of the greenhouse gas emission. So that is the concern. That is why, concern. Yeah. So that's why many countries are focusing in creating smart. And also another big factor is, if you notice the cities around the world, the cities that I mentioned just now, they're all very vulnerable to global warming. Why? Because they are all coastal cities. You see, most of the cities, they are all near the coast. So if there is a global warming, they will be the first one to hit. So these are the concerns. Yes.
So that means those cities are more urgent to need in need of this solution, especially in sustainable. So that means we should move into jungle.
a bit away from the city.
Yes. All right. So then, in that case, how can a country incorporate ESG into their smart cities?
ESG, as you know, is a buzzword right now. It's actually it's not an easy thing to do. All right. ESG is a high value strategy. So a lot of people see that, yes, ESG is the buzzword is sustainable, and is talking about sustainable practices. But actually, ESG, in short, just want to allow me to just explain a bit on ESG for those who are not familiar with it. So ESG stands for environment, E, S for social, and G for governance. So ESG is not as easy as you would think, right? So it's more than just a collection of principles. What it really means is about approach an approach and a method that can add financial and moral value to each corporation and the portfolio. So why is it so important? So yes, on one side, we're talking about sustainability practices to make sure that the resources are maintained. But at the same time, there are businesses right now that are struggling, right? So a lot of them are saying, don't talk to me about ESG. I can hardly survive now. But lo and behold, ESG is something that has made a company or a business or a project more attractive to shareholders, more attractive to customers, more attractive to organizations, government, and the general public. So in today's competitive business market, it is essential to focus on the principles of ESG because they help us to strengthen our reputation. It helps to generate better profits at the end. So how do we incorporate that? All right. So we have seen that it has impact on a lot of things. And one of it is investment. So how do we incorporate into smart cities? Now, to build a smart city, you need investments, right? So to do that, it's seen that in 2019, just a little bit of statistics, 176 billion was invested into ESG compliant companies.
I see.
These are socially responsible companies. Yeah. That's a 500% rise compared to 5 years ago. Now, by 2025, that is about 3 years from now, or maybe 2 years from now, we are expecting investment to move into ESG compliant assets, and that could hit 53 trillion.
Wow.
Yes, that is dollars, all right? $53 US dollar. So it is a high value strategy which I say is high value because it's a strategy that you can incorporate into your projects, into smart cities, and it could capture a lot of investment by being ESG compliant. If you want to be a part of that 53 trillion pie, then ESG is something that we must do, because other than that, investment funds are not going to touch, because it has been proven that ESG compliant companies stick around much longer. They give better value to the stakeholders. The share prices are better. So we need to incorporate that into our smart cities operations and management.
Absolutely. I believe that the market has the urgency now. That is the reason that people are actually eyeing and looking into investment into ESG company, hoping that these people is either from technology point of view or whatever product or services they are providing can help the people on planet to sustain longer. So I heard from a friend that had been in the green industry. So this is something that he quoted, which I think really true and inspired me. He say everyone is talking about recycle, but actually the big R that we need to focus in, the number one factor is actually responsible. So this would lead to every action that we are doing, not only about the green, not only about the things that we do, or not only about the items that we buy, how we use, how we reuse the thing. Even every action that we do, every decision that we make, responsible is number one. So of course, election is the responsible action, which just over. All right. So So okay, let us talk about technology. What is the systemic impact of technology in your opinion? Or be more specific, today we are talking about PropTech. How can PropTech impact the smart city technology?
The systemic impact of technology is really have to come about starting from our SDG, Sustainable Development Goal, which is in line with the United Nations Sustainable Goal. So we are talking at SDG 11, right? Looking at SDG 11, which says sustainable cities and communities. And the impact of technology has a great deal to do with the investment opportunities as well, right? So with every technology that comes in, there's a lot of investment opportunities. But very importantly is we need to have the right targets. right? The target of well-being. So each technology must target at improving the quality of life, the well-being of people, and communities are significantly impacted, right? They must be positively impacted. So each technology must positively impact human lives. If it's negative, then it doesn't fall into the sustainable goal area. And because of that, any company that is involved in such technology, they offer goods and services around the technology. They help improve quality of life in urban areas. These are the very companies that attract the stakeholders, that attract the investments. So questions that investments come in will ask is, how are you impacting the human lives? How are you impacting the environment? How is it improving the community, right? So when companies are able to answer that kind of question positively, and these are the companies with current exposures, they are more advanced in smart cities. So if you look at the companies that is currently providing goods and services to the smart cities I mentioned just now, they are the very ones that are doing very well. Because they are the one that has been able to link ESG into their company, conducting the business in providing technologies and having that appeal, all right, to a broader range of stakeholders. So like I said, not just only investors, but only the person who is paying for the services. That is the consumers, the customers, right? So that's how the impact is. So when we look at technology, whatever product there is, bear in mind, it must cater to that.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with you. Is investing in technologies, we need the sense of urgency must be there, because many countries, I would say, start with our country, people here need to be educated. They must know about the urgency, about sustainability before they think technology is worth investing. We have to know the impact of not investing is even higher than investing into technologies, because the subsequent impact of not doing ESG is huge to not only yourself but the whole planet, right? Yeah. So I totally align with your
So because when we want to talk about quality of life, people do not really think deep into the quality of life improvement. So they see ICT, they see technology, they see innovation advances, they see all the uses, but how does it help to improve quality of life? It's through economic growth. So your technology promotes economic growth, it creates a sustainable environment, it develops a safe environment. So for example, in terms of security, right, it provides a safe environment for our children to run around and travel to school and we go to work, and leaving our homes and making sure, when we come back, they are still the same way that we have, walked out this morning. And most of all is the efficient management practices in the urban area in terms of delivery of urban services, garbage collection, pollution, environment, whether it's noise or dust or chemical pollution. And definitely ones that hit Malaysia, especially in KL, will be traffic congestion. So that, people move out because they cannot take the traffic anymore, right? So the quality of life drops.
Yes, totally agree. So you actually gave a few examples about how about the expected result we can expect from a smart city technology and solution. Basically, we were asked by many people, what is smart cities actually? So you have given a very good example. Basically, we want to live a better life in a city. It's like love and hate about city. You like the life in the city, but you also hate it because it gives you a lot of trouble about like traffic congestion and many other trouble. One of the main target, or I would say objective, to implement smart city is to help the people or the citizens live in the smart city to make a better decision in the way they live. So for
Right.
example, when should I travel to the place that I want to go? Is there any better way that I can travel with, or better transportation? Is that a safe area that I need to live in? Where can I buy the things that I want to buy, or how to spend my money? And many other things, like also we can help the businesses in the city to make a better decision what kind of products, services that you need to provide for the citizen of this city. Basically, data collection is one of the main objective to implement smart city, so that the decision maker can make a better decision. All right. So
Yes.
this is a very, very important objective that we when it comes to smart city, that this is how I elaborate. All right. But
Yeah,
in order
right.
to achieve this objective, we need a lot of things to be implemented. IoT, AIoT, like what has mentioned by Jason just now, all the technologies, it's not, we are building the technology, developing the technology, not for the sake of like to develop it. It's because we have a purpose to meet. So I always say technology is not here to eliminate the people, but to empower the people.
Agree.
Okay, yeah, this is my always my mindset.
Yeah,
All right,
agree.
but since it is so good, it is so optimal, beautiful, like what you say, the children can run on the street. I do not need to worry about their safety, and so many other things. We have a clean environment, we have a green environment, we know our city is going to sustain. However, there are still many stoppers, I believe. Otherwise, everyone would be doing it already. What are the biggest stoppers that you think that we are currently facing that is stopping any country from going for smart city solution? Is that money or people or infrastructure or any other reason that you can think of?
I would say there are two things. One is it starts with the people, right? A lot of people think that it doesn't impact me. So I think I am very happy where I am. So therefore, there is really need for me to do anything, right? Yeah. And the other thing is also, I'm only one person. What can I do? So, but when climate change hits the planet, it doesn't spare anyone. So it will roll on to each and every one of us. So whatever happens in US or Europe or in China, it will come back to us. Economically, there will be impact. Socially, there will be impact. There will be lives lost, right? So in terms of that, I think the mentality and the attitude of people have to change. To say that it begins with me, just like at home. How can I change the environment at home? It begins with me, not my family members, but with me myself. How I place the rubbish, how I separate the rubbish, there is an impact. That's one. The other concern, I think, will be the cost. A major concern will be the cost. The cost of bringing down the carbon emission, for example. It's been projected that we need an investment of about 1.8 trillion per year just to do this.
Wow.
Right. But then it says, where is the money coming from?
Yeah,
so that's why
that's the question.
So that's why each company must now embark on ESG, because if you don't do that, there is a bigger cost.
Yeah,
right.
Absolutely.
You cannot progress, you cannot advance your technology, you cannot advance your business, because everything would be benchmarked against ESG. Now, another thing is a company say, I'm not going to invest in this because it takes so much money. But again, projection is that if we invest 1.8 trillion per year now, starting from 2050, we are expecting a return of 7 trillion per year.
Wow.
So we are moving,
times.
So we're moving forward. All right. So not going so far, let's start at 2030. The return is 2.8 trillion per year. So you can see within the next 5 years or so, you can start seeing the return. So the economic return will be on the NPV, net present value, will be over the next 30 years is 239 trillion a year. So that will come. Yeah, the return will come.
Huge.
Yeah, because we are talking about sustainability. That's
Yeah,
talking
yes.
about maintaining not status quo, but try to regenerate, try to improve the use of resources. So that will support 87 million jobs annually by 2030. So the cost itself, it starts with the cost. So if people are willing to look into that, all right, there are funds waiting to invest in that, but only condition is we have got to be compliant. And once the compliant comes in, then you realize that if I'm not ESG compliant, there is a cost of inaction. What is the cost of inaction? The cost of inaction to stakeholders. Why? Because if they don't do it, there will be social concerns, your investments can't come in. And then not only that, you get greater regulatory scrutiny, right? You get penalized, people are watching you, and your licenses can be revoked. And most of all, why are we here today is we talk about bottom line. Your bottom line will be impacted. So the very concern is also cost, money, but the very concern is people not doing anything, the cost of inaction.
Yeah, true. You really hit, I mean, this cost of inaction really hit us. But people, I think after all, we must start with education. This is something that we have to start by ourselves as a role of example. And also we need government to raise this awareness in the public, in the people, and people know that this urgency is there. It is COVID-19 is a biggest proof to show that we are not alone. We cannot be selfish. We cannot be like do whatever we want, because what you do impact the person next to you, and if it carry on, it impact the next generation. So the whole environment is our responsibility, I would say. Yeah. So however, the cost is really a bigger stopper because we are from technology. From our point of view, people cannot value the result after investing into technology. So but I mean, we don't have to think about implementing everything in one go. We can start with very small steps. Like we have so many options now in the market, including fintech, insurtech, contech, proptech, so many tech that can reduce the use of paper. That is number one, very small step. That's it. And secondly, improve how people work. So instead of you hiring people doing routine job, data entry, typing, repeating the same things every day, why not we digitalize it? And we can train the people to do something even more effective. So that is something, a small action that we can start. It's not a huge investment, but is to really look into it, execute it, so that everyone can play a small part in this society, and we can reach that level of sustainability. That is what I think, because I have been in the technology industry. I have been building software for the past 16 to 18 years. We have seen if the boss or the users do not have the urgency, the next thing will be the determination to do it. Even they buy it, they don't use it. So I think determination, responsibility, enforcement, this must be in place so that we can actually implement smart city together. Start with very small step. Not only technology company, every company, I think we have to start to think how we can contribute a little effort for this sustainability. Yeah, that is what I want to share. So yeah, audience online, do you have any question that you want to ask Dr. Nicole? Because she has a lot of knowledge about sustainability and a very impressive person. I am really inspired by her. Please don't waste the chance of raising question. So while waiting for any questions, so Dr. Nicole, do you have other things that you want to share?
Yeah, well, I'd like to say that, in the line of digitalization, a lot of people are hesitant to adopt technology because they feel that it's going to displace the function of human beings. But I look at it as, no, it doesn't displace, but it gives us a chance to upskill human being skills, right? Our human skills are being upskilled because you are going to supervise and you're going to supervise technology. And people cannot be displaced because we can, how should I say, we can make better use of human resources. Instead of doing something simple, they are being upskilled to do something more complicated, which, our human brain is more capable. So whatever that is able to be done by machines and all that, so let it be. Because ultimately, if the numbers I mentioned just now, the returns that we're going to put into technology is going to create more jobs.
Yeah.
Right? Just now I mentioned it's going to so much more jobs, about 39 trillion more jobs annually. We're talking about annually.
Wow.
So there are more jobs that is needed to implement digitalization. Yeah. So just want to share out to the people who is here this morning that really don't have to worry about displacement. We just need to know how we can be better. That's all.
We need to upskill. We need to be ready to change. We need to be ready to move on. And most importantly, the purpose of doing so, right? Yeah. I was very inspired by your, during the conference when I met you, I was very inspired on how you actually implement, how you actually execute in your daily life, like your company culture, how you encourage your staff to reuse and rethink or whatever, recycle. Can you repeat that? I think that was wonderful.
Oh yeah, well, we are in a sustainable group where we try to implement simple things in the office. For example, if you look at the aircon, right, we implement a certain range of temperature that we set across every aircon unit. So set it at say 23 degrees to 24 degrees. I think very, very common is we go into a room, we switch on the aircon, we blast it at 16 or 18, right?
Okay.
So it doesn't, we have to understand how the aircon works, right? So then, for example, materials, paper, try to cut down. I think all of us are doing that. Yeah. But a lot of companies, although they are technology companies, you'll be surprised they're still printing hard copies, right? That's still because we are so used to doing that. So cut down hard copies as much as possible. Even if hard copies, it doesn't really have to be color. You just want to feel and read and flip through the pages. Right? I understand there are some old, more people who are comfortable with hard copies. And then when we have our food at home, not only at the office, right? Or when we tapao food and pack back food, what do we do with the containers? We just say, we just chuck it one side. So how can we help? Just a little bit, just wash it off, organic one side, organic waste one side, and what is able to throw away your plastic one side. Just separate it, organic and organic. So little things like that will help. Your materials, your waste of materials, if you are in construction, right? We're talking about what type of materials do we use? Is it recyclable? Or then we have to educate the staff. Sometimes the management wants to do so much things, but they cannot. So the main causes, like in your building materials and all that, it causes carbon emission. So how do we help them to achieve your type of materials? So you find that like in Shanghai or in some countries in Europe, they are very careful about material measuring. How much material? So we always like, I need sand. Okay, just in case. All right, contingency. Order more sand. Order more timber. All right. So measurement is important, and then the type and the quality as well. So that's why ESG compliant companies are important, because they focus on quality, right? So when there's quality, then you don't have waste. For example, you take towels. You get a carton of towels. If it's bad quality, maybe 20% of them will break. And then it's wasted. The moment you cut it, it breaks. Right? But if it's good quality, then there's no wastage. Because the wastage come back at the end of the day. It may not hit you, but it will hit
definitely.
Yeah. So things like that, when we took into the pride in taking care of our home should move over to your office, move over to your company.
Yes,
there must be a sense of love and belonging.
And the attitude.
Yeah. So if you treat the environment as your home, if you treat the company as your home, the office as your home, I think it's not an issue. But the problem is we treat it all separately.
All right, there are actually a few questions online. Let me ask the first one. Where are we in Malaysia in so far as the adoption of circular economy is concerned?
Where are we? I think two ways to look at it. In terms of consciousness, in terms of awareness, we are there. We are definitely aware of what is happening. We have signed the Paris Accord and all that, and it's always a lot of talk about it. But in terms of enforcement
and execution,
execution, I think we still lack. Right?
I totally agree.
So we are there, like the adoption is there. Just like, but one thing I would like to say about Malaysia, we adopt very fast. Just look at the e-wallet, for example, right? 2 years ago, nobody wanted to do anything with e-wallet. What's that? Nobody understand. And then look at us now, all right? And e-wallet is almost everywhere. And look at handphones, for example. Malaysia is the highest number of handphones per person, right? So people have one, some of us have 2 or 3. So that's quite common. So in the adoption of technology, adoption concepts, we are pretty good. So we only need one more thing, which is enforcement and execution.
I totally agree. It's like, even now, I want to recycle things that I use. I think about, I know there are different material made up one bottle. So other countries, they separate the bottle, different portion and throw it here and there. Like the batteries, after use, we shouldn't just throw it into dustbin. But this kind of knowledge, it is not really educated. I mean, we're not really educated on how to handle the things we already use. And so we know it. But when it comes to execution, we may actually do it on the first day, second day, third day. Number 4 day, lazy already. Number 5th day, forget about it. Number 6, I go back to normal. So I think this is Malaysian behavior.
Correct. Because also the Angela, one of the problems that we have is that we do not know where to go, right? So if I have got battery, they only collect it like once a month. Right? And then there are places we collect shoes, but I don't know when to send. So if you have got, let's say if you're clearing your storeroom, you want to get rid of the things. Where do you go? You got
Chinese New Year is coming. You can see all this already.
Where to go?
Where
to throw? So you just throw it in the bin.
So we really need a smart city that have all this plan and in place. It's not that we don't want to do. It is that it is not convenient for us to persistently doing it. So when we plan the whole thing, it's not only technology that can help. The structure, when we plan for it, we must think already how many population and how many recycle bin or station that we need for that many population. And education, execution must be there. All right. So next, we have another question: how to create urgency for this digitization process in Malaysia, and what is the level of digitization in Malaysia?
Sorry, I missed that.
How to create the urgency for this digitization urgency? Yeah, I know it's good, but I do it tomorrow lah. Tomorrow, then I say tomorrow lah. I have no urgency to do it. So since why am I doing it? When I do the budgeting, not enough. Okay, digitization, throw away. Very minimal. This one first, that one first.
Okay, good question. There's a lot of requirement now to companies to be socially responsible in ESG. So the difference between ESG and normal CSR is that ESG must be measurable. So data itself is something very crucial, and data can only come with digitalization. So the power of data will help us to make good decisions. The power of data will also help us to do a good assessment for us to examine whether a company is doing their part to be socially responsible. So digitalization is something that is in the making to enable this data capturing. So the use, I think the next session will be on data by our colleague Frank. So I met Frank in a conference as well. So we're talking about data, the power of data, the use of data, how important it is. So I would say that yes, it's very important, and therefore the need for digitalization for us to make sure there is no maneuvering, there's no what we call it non-compliance to quality. So data will be the one that speaks to us, and data would be one to tell us how much electricity are we using, how much waste are we throwing. So that's all data, and to capture that, it will be digitalization.
Okay, there are a few more questions. Let me see. Are we produce one good model for smart city to be projected? How can it be done? A good model that are you talking about business model or return model? Is there any model that we can really like study? Any good model that we can,
Perhaps we can look at Singapore, Stockholm, because they're in Switzerland, I think Switzerland, Zurich or Geneva. There are 3 smart cities in Switzerland. Closer to home will be Singapore, and then there's another one you can see, Shanghai. Shanghai last year, I think this year 2022, they have been
number one.
They are number one. They are number one. So how did they transform suddenly from nothing to something that is so powerful? And you talk about Singapore, people say, oh, Singapore is so small, easy to do. You look at Shanghai, it's huge.
Population is huge. I actually did a lot of study on smart cities, especially a case study like you mentioned just now, how Korea did it, how Shanghai did it. Smart city is a mega project. And it's a no border, no anything you can do in smart city. However, it is a mega project, but start with very small step. You can build a building, a green building, a smart building as a start. Okay, you can transform your community into a smart community as a start. When everyone doing their job in the city, then we can link everyone together, and slowly we become moving towards a smart city. So this mega project, we do not need to start with a big step. A small step. Everyone do the small step, it will connect. All right.
Agree. There's a question. There's the question here, Angela, that says, there is as a developer, there are always challenges to balance sustainability and profitability objectives. How to convince shareholders? This one, I think I want to take this. I want to take this. The question is to be or not to be. Again, if you don't be that developer that is looking at sustainability, you are looking at a non-playing field already, because people, like the consumers, they will have a lot of demand. The investors will also have a lot of demand. Right now, how to convince to match the consumer and the investors? I think the users, all right, the tenants or the buyers will look at certain things. What do they look for? They look for higher property value, right? Angela, when we buy property, higher property value. We look for, if we are running a, what we call it, a suite or a hotel or whatever, we are looking at higher occupancy rates. We are looking at, if you are a REIT, you're looking at higher rental income. And at the same time, you're looking at lower operating costs, make sure that it's electricity consuming, there's no, the building energy intensity is low. And then you're looking at a lower cost of capital. Right now, all these things, if you have a high ESG score, it will come to you, because high ESG score gives you a green premium, right? And because it's been proven over time, certain companies, developers, they deliver better quality products, and they deliver, when they take orders, they make sure the building comes up. They don't make the customers or the buyers wait and then abandon the project, right? So all these things are part and parcel. So the companies that are reputable, that are more efficient with every dollar spent will transform back to better quality for the buyers. And those who don't, right, again, to be or not to be. Now, if developers choose not to be part of the game, at the current ESG score that they have, they'll be forced to take a brown discount. A brown discount means you cannot command that kind of premium. You will definitely be giving a discount to your property value, and we call it a brown discount because you're not changing, you're not green. So they will be forced to be going into that.
Must be there.
Yeah, they will be forced to look at the ESG score.
Yeah, I know the time is up. Let me wrap up everything because I can see another question also is a similar concern. How can we influence the industry, the shareholder, the stakeholder, the owner, or whatever? I can see that these are the repeating questions that come up in this session. So I believe that every one of us facing these challenges, we are aware of the urgency, but not everyone. However, if we give up, if we do not persist, it will be getting worse. So please play our role. Don't give up. Tell them, show them, prove to them. If we don't do this, we all going to end nowhere. So this is something that we really have to put our hands together and achieve it. This is SDG 17, partnership to achieve the goal. All right, let us do it together. All right. Back to you, Cassandra. Very nice to have you, Dr. Nicole. Another very inspiring session from you again. We must have coffee, all right? Thank you, Cassandra. Back to you.
Ask me, invite me also. I would like to join also. Thank you so much, Angela and Dr. Nicole, for the session.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much.